Hello YouTube. Thank you for everyone who's tuning in to watch this tonight. So, I made it to Ottawa this weekend and it was pretty exciting, pretty interesting. Super glad I made it there. Just want to say thanks to everyone that helped me get there. Extremely appreciated. Obviously worth my time going because my experiences in Ottawa this weekend were completely different than the way the mainstream media is trying to frame things. And I'm going to give you some examples of how the mainstream's playing it, and then I'll show you some footage that I have. I'll tell you my experiences. And I'll just start here with some general footage I want to show you of me walking around on Parliament Hill when I got there on Saturday. I realize that the resolution right now, and this is choppy, and I apologize, guys. It's not getting a good signal at the moment, but the point is you can still see the size of the crowd. You can see the diversity of the crowd. Observe the signs. Get a general idea of what they're doing there. This would have been around 1 p.m. I think. If anyone can hear this, can you let me know in the chat if the audio is okay? I know that the video is choppy, but is the audio okay? Alright guys, I see your comments. I apologize for this. I was hoping that the band stream would be better and that it would actually be able to play the video. So I guess the audio is not very good, and I apologize for that. I might not be able to do this as quite the way I wanted then, because I wanted to be able to play my video clips within OBS. So I might have to just upload them as individual clips onto the channel, and then and put them in the article, because I'm writing print articles for the website about this too, and just have links to them. But for the sake of the stream, I might have to just talk about some of my experiences, and then I can show in the browser what the mainstream's doing. And so I'll just start then by giving you some general commentary. So I got there on Friday night, and my crew and I, we stayed in a hotel, and then we headed downtown. We knew Bernier was scheduled to speak around noon, so we took the subway downtown. There was a lot of energy. As soon as we got downtown, a huge amount of energy. We didn't have any problem getting into the city. We got downtown. As soon as we stepped off the train downtown, just a huge amount of noise, crowds everywhere. So I walked up, and the crowd started swelling, and after about an hour, there were tens of thousands of people there, and then they ended up forming a stage, and I've got video from, on Instagram and on some of the channel already, and there were a bunch of speakers. So I didn't see any Antifa. Earlier that morning, a picture had started circulating, and in my opinion, it's very obviously a staged photo op being done by someone. People can speculate who, but I didn't see any Confederate flags or Nazi flags or anything at all at this rally with all of these people. But there was a couple of photos that are going around now. Here, I'll show you one. The one of them is, sorry, hold on a second, guys. Got it right here. Obviously, this one. That's not my caption. Someone else wrote that, but this truck doesn't really make any sense. And this rally had nothing to do with Confederacy in the United States or anything. It's not a right-wing thing at all. It clearly wasn't. Had nothing to do with any kind of racist undertones, and it had nothing to do with white nationalism, which is a trick that I think the media is overusing now, and I think it's going to backfire them on this one, because there's just too many live streams and indie journalists like me that have showing a narrative that's just not true, and there's too many people supporting this that just aren't white nationalists. So this is going to backfire on them, I think. Let me show you another picture here. Yeah, it was spotted driving around downtown, and some people took pictures, but again, it had nothing to do with the rally. So there was this editorial that came out here, and I basically completely agree with this editorial cartoon. It just shows that there was a huge amount of people there. It was a very loving attitude. Everyone was cheering, and there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. I was going to play a clip and show you this to contrast it with the mainstream media, but I've already uploaded on the YouTube channel, so if you want to see it, there was a speaker named Big Bear that spoke right after Bernier, and he was an indigenous guy. I didn't catch exactly what group he was from, but he got up and he spoke about stuff, and he spoke about the need to get indigenous communities clean drinking water, and truth and reconciliation and stuff like that, and people were genuinely cheering, because it's a populist movement, and I think everyone just really does hate Trudeau. And Trudeau 5 years ago, of course, pledged a few $1 billion at least, I forget the exact figure, to help out these communities, and nothing ever happened. So everyone's just coming together now, realizing how corrupt the government is. Everyone there was fully aware of how corrupt the mainstream media is, which is just, at this point, they're not even bending the truth or ignoring the truth. They're manufacturing lies. So I'm going to show you a couple of things. I made a video earlier today already, and I was given commentary on here, let me just show you something. 1 second. So Warren Kinsella has an opinion piece here in the Toronto Sun. I'll tell you a little funny story about Warren Kinsella. When I was a young kid, I went to Humber College to do this 2-year diploma in comedy writing, and when I was living in residence in the first year, everyone that lived in residence, all the men were forced to go to this meeting in the library where they basically were treating us all like rapists, and gave us this big lecture on how somebody in the room, at least a few people, were going to end up being rapists that year, and how how bad we were, and this big warning about not to do it. And I was really offended by the whole thing. But on the way out the door, they gave me they said I won the door prize, and they gave me this book certificate for the bookstore. So I went there and I bought some books. And when I was younger, I was into punk rock, so I bought this book, which is called Fury's Hour, a Punk Rock Manifesto by Warren Kinsella, and I read it. And to this day, I find this absolutely hilarious because that was over 15 years ago that he wrote this then. And it is the most hypocritical thing you could possibly imagine if you read this and then you realize all the stuff that Warren Kinsella is connected to. Because, actually, let me show you this before I show you the Toronto Sun article, just so people remember who he is. I'm saying that we have this huge problem with the entire mainstream media being corrupt, and they have sort of a controlled narrative. It's called the Overton window, and the mainstream media, the right wing and the left wing mainstream brands, kind of keep the dialogue within a certain confines. So I find it funny that Kinsella is writing about this because here's a CBC article. And I was in this is about 2 years ago. I was in Hamilton at a PPC event. And I remember when all this drama went down, and then this happened. And the headline here: recordings reveal details of campaign to attack Maxime Bernier, PPC, as racist before the election. So Warren Kinsella has this thing called the Daisy Group, and this article just kind of talks about how, here. I want the hatred you have for Maxime Bernier to wash over you as a purifying force, Kinsella tells his staff in one recording made during a meeting on May 16th. There's nobody in the country doing what we're doing to Maxime Bernier. And I remember all of the harassment. A lot of the PPC candidates who weren't white were getting over this Nazi narrative, which was basically constructed by this kind of a PR firm, and that's why we have a big problem with, PR in this country. So the guy who was the CBC here is busted as having had this smear campaign against Maxime Bernier. Now he's, for some reason, writing this opinion piece in the Toronto Sun. And basically, I think everybody who has common sense can, because of the massive amount of people at this event, and there was no presence of Nazis except for that one staged photo op. For that reason, everyone just doesn't take this seriously. But here we are regurgitating narratives about Nazis and white supremacy. Let me find where it is here. Yeah, he just starts right off. He's got this tone to his article. Now, I wasn't in Ottawa for the big trucker protest. I was. But I certainly heard from plenty of folks who were or supported those who were. There was one guy in military duds calling himself Reddit Bird Gunner who said I was an enemy of the people who needed to be dealt with. Come and get me, tough guy. Then there was another one, name presently unknown, driving this truck north of Ottawa's Elgin Street, a Confederate flag affixed to the rear. Nobody with common sense is taking this seriously. That's a staged thing, and here he is talking about it. Let me tell you I'm racist without saying that I'm racist. Why would anybody come to this event with a Confederate flag? There's no context or reason for that. It makes no sense at all. And there was one who let me know I was evil and paid by the Trudeau regime, which is news to me and Justin Trudeau. He has been hired by the Liberals, though. He's worked for the Liberal Party, though, just to be clear about that. And there was stuff I didn't experience personally. Reporters being told they'd swing from a rope, reporters being told to go back to the foreign country they came from, reporters being spat at. So when I said there'd be ugliness this weekend, I was right. There was plenty even before the protest officially got underway. To be honest with you, I think I might have saw one camera crew, and they didn't have I couldn't tell what outlet they were from. I didn't see very many mainstream media journalists even there at this thing, even though it's huge. It's still huge. Andy, in the ultimate age of misinformation, I found the only way to know the truth is to seek it out for oneself, so that's what I did. That's basically true. Everyone now you have to do a bit of information or find people online that are good commentators, because you can't trust mainstream media, obviously. But how did a vaccinated individual like Andy end up in a caravan for anti-vaxxers? That's the thing. There's huge amounts of people at this event that are vaccinated, right? Because everyone's pretty much aware what's going on. So Trudeau just fled Ottawa right away over security concerns that are non-existent, because this was the most peaceful rally I've ever been at. And now he has COVID, which is very bizarre that he would claim this, because if he's fully vaccinated, this is just this is making the protesters' point stronger. The vaccines obviously don't work. Keep in mind, I'm completely unvaxxed and I haven't been sick in 2 years, and there's no way, So I can say that I felt a very loving tone. Obviously, I was sort of supportive of the crowd, but the point was the general vibe there was extremely loving. This wasn't like, this was the first time I saw, there's a lot of women there, a lot of Aboriginal people, children. So it was a huge mixed crowd of just Canadians coming together. You can check out my video links. Like I said, I was going to play them, but I'll just I can just put links in the description to the stuff I've got on this channel after that. Anyway, but there is now one thing I'll jump to show you. This might be a little choppy, but let's see if we can hear the audio, because this is Bernie Farber, who is the chairman of Anti-Hate, which has smeared me a lot incorrectly many times in the past, so everyone knows how I feel about them. Let me see if I can play this clip for you. Just bear with me here 1 second, guys. Also, just let me check the chat while I'm at it. I'll reload this. Hold on a sec.
Maeve was a fearless sister. She
took care of everyone in the army.
Let's now reach out to Bernie Farber. He is the chair of the Canadian Anti-Hate Network in Canada. Bernie, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Michael.
Listen, I want to begin with your thoughts. As someone who grew up in Ottawa, as someone whose father was a Holocaust survivor, when you hear about swastikas being painted onto Parliament Hill, being used to deface property around the nation's capital, what goes through your mind?
Well, it's absolutely frightening. I think you have to remember that it's not just me, but there are many of my friends and family and others in the Jewish community and in the community of color and other minority groups, but specifically those groups that have been targeted by Nazis and neo-Nazis in this country. You see swastikas and Confederate flags, but specifically swastika flags, on Parliament Hill, walking down residential streets, as the councillor just noted. I mean, it does fill you with apprehension, it fills you with fear, it fills you with concern. And as a child of Holocaust survivor, I understand it, but I actually think most Canadians get this. And it's not just a few malcontents or a couple flags. This so-called convoy actually seeded the ground, in my opinion, for the worst display of Nazi and racist propaganda that I have ever seen in this country. And I've been to lots of protests and many more such as these, going back to the late 1960s to this very day. And honestly, I have never, ever seen anything like this.
You say seeded the ground, but as I said to Councillor McKenney, there are people who support this protest because it began as a demonstration against cross-border vaccines.
Okay, I got to stop it there for a second. I just got to tell you that makes no sense. That doesn't make sense, so I have to conclude that is just a bold-faced lie, because I was there all day, walking around all afternoon, and downtown, and live streaming and taking videos, and there's no symbology of that whatsoever. There's massive crowds of people there from indigenous communities, tons of black people, people, non-white people, just tons of them, so of all kinds of backgrounds. So it doesn't make it, what he's saying makes no sense. The only pictures or anything anyone has found at all is that truck, and then later on one guy fully masked with a Confederate flag showed up and was quickly and with his own cameraman and was quickly chased off. There's also pictures circulating, might be able to find it, that shows the truck parked with the Nazi flag on it and a couple other flags, and there's someone there who is circled, and it looks very similar to one of Justin Trudeau's photographers, but I can't confirm that. But if you look for that, you'll find it circling online. So to me, it seems like a very obvious stage photo op. But it seems to me like they're extremely desperate now, because literally they're they're not exaggerating something. They're basically making up a complete lie that doesn't really hold any water with all the footage and all the people that are there. So it just doesn't make any sense, because they're like, watch all my live streams and stuff as I'm walking around the lawn and everything, and there just isn't any of that. And there's a huge amount of actively counter, people promoting all kinds of non-racist ideas and unity and love and everything, and extreme, there was no violence. So I'm extremely inspired right now, and just really happy, because there is no violence, and there wasn't even an Antifa presence. There's no counter protest, because this is just so huge, and there's just so many women and children. And I was obviously not the only indie journalist. There's people there with huge streams that got huge amount of views that you should check out, and just massive. And so this just is a lie, because it doesn't make any sense, in my opinion. Speaking as someone who was there, right? So then I also want to add that if you check on this channel earlier, last night I published, my friend was in British Columbia, was able to send me footage of this massive crowd simultaneously in British Columbia singing "O Canada." I have footage of people singing "O Canada" here too, and there's just none of these taboo subjects that they're trying to make stick to these rallies that are inspiring all these other people now is working, because it just there's not enough there. Even events like in the States, like Charlottesville or January 8th or whatever, they can at least those are all obviously false flag events too, in my opinion, but there's at least more, even if it's fake stuff, to work with to make a fake narrative. This is like really bare bones and flies in the face of all these other people that were there, and there's so and the footage, so you should be aware of that. A couple other thoughts I wanted to make out here, because I realize now that if the stream's choppy, like I said, I was gonna, maybe I'll after this show you a few things, but if not work, I'm just gonna upload. Some of the clips have already been uploaded, and some I'll upload after this, of the speakers, the things they were talking about. It's a working class movement, obviously, so there was an electrician who spoke, and just independent media people, and all kinds of working class people. I got footage of Bernier speaking. It's at least a clip of, I didn't get his entire everything he said, but the part I got was pretty inspiring, actually. He said, "Go back to jail for the name of freedom." Now, keep in mind, Bernier is a career politician, so gotta remember that at all times. But he was saying the right stuff at the rally. And I was also, this is the first thing since 2016, I covered all the yellow vest stuff that was going on in Toronto and the free speech stuff, and I was starting to get frustrated with those rallies, because they never had clearly defined goals, so they were really more just get to social morale boosting events or something. But with what the truckers are doing, it's like they're taking rules, hints from Rules for Radicals here, which I'm always trying to get people to read. Everything's been non-violent, and I don't think what they're doing is technically illegal, and they're going down there and they're just blocking up the system. So they've found it's a form of non-violent resistance, and they have a clearly defined goal, because they're saying they're not going to leave until the mandates are actually dropped. So in this case, it's better coordinated, it's big, it's more of a populist movement, and there's a clearly defined goal here, which is why I'm starting to be cautiously optimistic about the whole thing. So those are basically some of my thoughts so far. Let me just check the chat again. Pardon me for a moment. The other thing that I find obviously really bizarre about this whole thing too is that the two things that they had to create up something. So the media's complaining about people jumping on the tomb of the unknown soldier, and they're saying that the protesters were disrespectful to the Terry Fox monument because they put a flag in his arms and a sign around his neck and stuff. And that's hilarious to me, because the mainstream liberal press has done nothing but encourage the desecration of all of these monuments for years now. Like last spring, they were just cheering as the statues here in Toronto of Ryerson were beheaded, and a whole I can't remember everything specifically, but they're just always messing up monuments and stuff. So to just suddenly pretend like anybody cares, like on the pro-vax side, about this Terry Fox monument during this giant event. It's just weird. Let me chat again. Interesting. Okay, so this is interesting. Someone in the chat is saying Toronto police are now arriving in Ottawa. I knew that. I got an update on that today, or was it last night? But the Toronto police are in Ottawa now to help them. And so if they start trying to force truckers out, more truckers are going to come back to Toronto, because there won't be enough cops in Toronto to enforce stuff if they're already in Ottawa. Because I don't know if they understand exactly how many trucks are involved in this, because even though I was there all day Saturday, I had to come back on Sunday, and we were hearing that like 5 kilometers worth of trucks were still arriving the next day. And I've been watching other people's live streams, and it just seems like a giant party still raging. So I've heard that by next Friday the law changes, and then the police can take more action. I don't know if they're going to try to start swatting all these trucks now, or what they're having, but there's so many people, I don't know how they're going to get away with trying to like just force everyone out, because I truly hope these truckers are serious about like parking their shit there permanently until this stuff is met. And I may have secured a ride back this weekend. If I can get back up there, I want to just keep, showing more, because I want as many people to just keep going there and supporting this thing. Like, rather than, it's not really a weekend demonstration. This is this is action now at this point, when more than 2 years into this, and this is what we need to really support. So that's what I think about the event. I've got another thing I realized too, is that I really want to just keep doing journalism and trying to we need, like, people need to remember the media. This is how corrupt the media is now. That's the full-blown lie machine. So we do need good quality media. So I'm trying to obviously on the go build up stuff and get better quality, but I want to just do as much as I can. It's hard without an assistant right now, because keep in mind also, that's the other thing, everyone there is dedicated to this, because it was like minus 20. It was really, really cold there, and I didn't realize how fast all my camera battery, like when I got there I had multiple backups and my phone. I ended up using my iPhone for the majority of my videos, because I was taking photos with my camera for about 15 minutes, and then that drained most of the battery just because of being in minus 20 weather. So and having to take my gloves off to deal with everything while I'm live streaming is actually really difficult. So hopefully in the future I can get an assistant, but for now it's good to be there. I realized too at this event, live streaming was kind of pointless, because the system jammed up too much with everybody live streaming. So I should have just focused more, maybe done just some brief live streams just to to have that documented live, but mostly focus on pre-recorded stuff I can upload when I get home. For now, I got a ton of pictures though, so I'm going to put them on the website, because freebirdmedia.ca. I'm working on a bigger piece to publish hopefully by tomorrow with all the photographs. It's just mostly a photo gallery of signs. People there were like kids there that had a lot of interesting signs, and parents, and just showing the different crowds so you can see what it looks like. I wanted to do streeter interviews. I even had my mic and everything, but then the camera died so fast that I just wasn't expecting that. So unfortunately, it's mostly video footage, the live streams, and photos. But my experiences too will go into the article, so we'll have that up. Someone in the comments says, "Did you hear about O'Toole will be facing a leadership review?" I haven't heard that. I'm interested. I know that all the mainstream parties are not budging on anything right now, and O'Toole and the Conservatives aren't budging, and Trudeau says he's not budging. So it's going to be interesting. I don't like O'Toole at all. Obviously, I'm not a Conservative voter, so whatever. I hope they do get rid of him. You know what I'm going to play? I'm going to try playing... here's just a short clip of... This was funny. I just thought this would be funny. I'll show you guys while I'm here. That was just somebody that got on stage at one point in between speakers that I thought was funny. Snowman guy. I don't know how the audio is, guys, but I'm going to just play this short clip of this Aboriginal guy here, because if the audio is clear enough, you'll get an idea of what some of the speakers were saying. Actually, let me start with Bernier. Actually, let me know if the audio is completely choppy or if you can hear what he says here. Alright, sorry guys, I was testing it. I guess the audio is not coming through, so it's not really worth playing it on this stream, but that clip is on the channel anyway, so you can just look on the channel after the stream and hear what he says. But that's just Bernier talking about how he was arrested in Alberta last year and how he's ready to be arrested again and so on. So it's just interesting to hear. Keep in mind he's a career politician, but it just shows you them around. And there's clips of Big Bear speaking and an electrician and some other stuff, so just check out those chips afterwards. Sorry about the stream quality tonight, guys. I'm going to look into getting more bandwidth maybe somehow, because I thought this would go smoother, so I apologize for that, but I'll start just uploading stuff edited rather than go live for the rest of this week until I get this figured out. Apologies, but I think you get the point that I wanted to hit home in the stream mostly. It was just that my experiences and my evidence here basically completely contradicts this narrative being pushed by people like Warren Kinsella, who runs a PR firm, or Bernie Farber, who runs antihate.ca. These are, I think, career propagandists basically that are part of this machine, that are desperate and trying to frame this event as some kind of racist thing when it just clearly wasn't at all. And that was my experiences, and I just wanted to clarify that so everyone knows. So stay tuned in. Tomorrow I'll publish some more videos on the channel instead of going live like this. So watch for those, and in those videos I'll include a link and I'll mention the article that I'm going to publish tomorrow, or might break it up into several articles, but I'll be publishing some stuff at least by tomorrow on the website. So stay tuned for that. And then also just go on here. I've had this book list for the last few years, and I'm always repping to people, so, forgive me if you've heard this little speech already from me, but there's two books I just wish I could convince everyone to buy and read. One is Propaganda by Edward Bernays, and it's short. These are short reads, too, so the knowledge really helps you in understanding certain things if you haven't read these already, because now we're seeing firsthand how all these ideas are shaped. And then this other book that I like to recommend to people is The Crowd, A Study of the Popular Mind by Gustave Le Bon. And this goes well with Rules for Radicals for anyone that wants to be sort of a community leader or a politician, because you have to learn how to be a rhetorician and use rhetoric, and also just all these things that happen when you're in a crowd, because crowds develop their own kind of hive mind with its own psychology and stuff, which I've experienced firsthand. Obviously, it's quite something. So those three books, basically, I just wanted to, once I get hype. Thanks everyone that watched this stream. Sorry about the quality. I'll get that fixed. Everything is slowly coming along though, so keep watching for the other uploads on this channel all day long tomorrow, and I'll update you on the website too. On that note, I'll wrap up the stream though, but thanks for now for everyone, and I'll keep you updated. Hopefully I get back to Ottawa soon. Take care, guys.